What's up, wrestling fans? As you know, it's WrestleMania season in the world of WWE. And while the build to this year's WrestleMania has been really weird with the whole introduction of Pat McAfee into the Cody Rhodes Randy Orton feud and all of that kind of stuff and a lot of the celebrity involvement and everything, it just seemed like a strange build. The card itself seems like it's going to be a really good card. A lot of really good matches have been set up for this year. Even if you don't like the build and everything, at least the match quality on paper sounds like it's going to be a really fun show. So in this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts and some theories on what I think is going to happen on the show, as well as my predictions for who will win each of the matches that have been set up on the card as well. So without further delay, here are my predictions for who will win the matches at WrestleMania 42. First up, we'll start with the Night 1 matches. I'm going to start with the 6-man tag team match between The Vision, which is, of course, Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and IShowSpeed is part of this for some reason. Another celebrity involvement, like I mentioned earlier. First is the Usos and LA Knight. I think that The Vision is actually going to win this match, and the only reason I think that is because I think Braun Breaker is going to return and interfere in this match in some way. I believe he's probably going to replace IShowSpeed, maybe at some point during the match, IShow is going to get injured or be taken out by the Usos and LA Knight or something, to the point, where he can no longer compete, and then Braun Breaker is going to come out to even the odds to make it a 6-man tag again instead of a 2-on-3 handicap match. And I think the reason they would do this, even though, Braun was supposed to face Seth Rollins originally in their plans, obviously he was injured, and he's just coming back from his injury. It was just confirmed that I think he's cleared to compete now, but they kind of had to do it too late where they couldn't set up the program between him and Seth Rollins. I think this is the best way to bring Braun back because it kind of protects him from being injured again. Like a one-on-one match, is more taxing and everything. You have to do your part as well as the other guy. Whereas in a 6-man tag team match like this, he can kind of come in, maybe do a spear or something and just win the match for his team at the end. He can be part of the match but not be featured as much because the other guys will be involved in it more so than he will. So it'd be a nice way to get Braun Breaker back on the card and give the Vision a meaningful win. I know they did just win the tag team titles and everything, but I think it would be a nice way to build them back up as this credible faction again by having Braun return here at WrestleMania and win the match for them. But I do think, one way or another, I think the Vision is going to win this because there will be some kind of infighting between LA Knight and the Usos, or just the return of Braun Breaker to set up their future feud between the Vision and Seth Rollins. So going forward after WrestleMania, now that Braun is back, he can face Seth at Backlash or something, and they can restart what they were going to do at WrestleMania, having Seth Rollins go after the Vision. And I think that can start here by having Braun return in the 6-man tag team match. Next up is the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. Now, I personally wish this match was the reverse of what it is, that Becky was still the champion, and this could be AJ's big one-on-one return to professional wrestling. She did return in that mixed tag team match last year at WrestlePalooza, and that was really her first match back in professional wrestling and in WWE in general. And then she did, appear in the Royal Rumble and everything, and then she fought Becky for the title and won the title there. While that was, a good moment for, the home crowd and everything, I think she should have won the title at WrestleMania against Becky instead. It's a more meaningful moment, I feel like. It's a bigger moment and everything else, but since they went this route with it, I think AJ is going to retain. Something's going to happen maybe, or just she'll beat Becky clean again, and then Becky can move on to fighting for the World Heavyweight title again and give that division some more challengers for if Liv Morgan beats Stephanie Vaquer, or even if Stephanie retains. At least she has someone else to feud with for a couple of months, that being Becky Lynch. And also, I just think, Becky was the champion for a good while before she dropped it to Maxine Dupree and then won it back and everything else. She's been prominently featured in the Women's Intercontinental title picture for a while, so I don't think she needs to really win the title here anymore. I think AJ gets more out of winning this than she does, and then AJ can go on to keep defending the title over the next couple of months or whatever, and have some other programs with some of the current stars on this roster that she's never fought before. And Becky can move on, like I said, to the world title picture or some other program, whatever they have for her. So I'm going with the AJ Lee retaining the Intercontinental Championship in this match. Next up, this match should be a fun one. It's the unsanctioned match between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. I do believe they're going to beat the heck out of each other. It's going to be one of the best, most brutal physical matches I think we've ever seen. I know they're going to fight all over the arena and everything else. I kind of wish it was like a Hell in a Cell or even a Falls Count Anywhere match, but an unsanctioned match gets the job done as well. This blood feud between these two that we've been seeing brewing on SmackDown over the last number of months. And even though I kind of wish this could have been part of the WWE title picture or something, or have these two fighting for the WWE title, I still think that they're going to put on a really good match. And it's probably going to steal the show, at least on night one, just because of how emotionally invested we can all be in this feud, because we just want to see these two beat the heck out of each other. So I like that they made it an unsanctioned match. And I think Jacob Fatu is going to win this match. I think Drew McIntyre is going to get a little carried away or something and end up costing himself the match. Or he's going to underestimate Jacob or whatever. Jacob's going to win. I think Jacob Fatu gets more out of this than Drew does, just like I said with AJ and Becky. Because I think they're going to start pushing Jacob into the WWE title picture, and I think the way to do that is for him to beat the most recent champion in Drew McIntyre to really cement himself as a credible challenger going forward. I do see Jacob as one of these people that is probably going to be a world champion by the end of the year, and I really hope he is, or at least by next year, by WrestleMania or whatever. I definitely could see him as a future world champion, and that could start here with a big win at WrestleMania in this blood feud against Drew McIntyre. This may even spawn into a trilogy of matches between the three of them, and it starts here with this one. But I do think either way, Jacob Fatu is winning at WrestleMania. This next one is the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. It's the Irresistible Forces versus Charlotte and Alexa Bliss versus the Bella Twins versus Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. I honestly could see Lyra and Bayley coming out with a win here. I don't really know what the plan is for them, if they're going to maybe feud or something, but I think they could start off with a tag team title victory, go a couple months as tag team champions, and then split off and have their feud or something. Plus, it kind of makes up for last year where it was supposed to be Lyra and Bayley fighting for the tag titles, but instead it was Becky Lynch who returned and took Bayley's place after Bayley was taken out, I assume, by Becky Lynch. So it kind of would give us a look at what they could have been like as tag team champions if they were able to win the titles here. So I'm going to go with them winning it. I don't see any reason why the Bellas should win. I get that they're back to win the tag team titles or to kind of spice up the women's tag team division a little bit, but I don't think they necessarily need to win the women's tag team titles to do that. I think they can push all these other women, which is what they apparently came back to do. Nikki Bella said that she was back to help the women's division and everything. So if she is back for that reason and Brie is also back for that reason, then more power to them. But I think they can do that without winning the tag team titles. And then, Nia and Lash have been tag team champions for, I think, a couple months at this point. They've had a good run and everything, had some good title defenses and stuff so far. But I think maybe it's time for them to drop it. I know it hasn't been that long of a title reign for them, but maybe they'd be better as the heels trying to chase after the titles. Maybe they can win them a couple different times throughout the year or something. And then Charlotte and Alexa, of course, were the former champions before Nia and Lash. So I don't think they necessarily need to win the tag team titles again at this point. I feel like they're building a feud between them as well, maybe. Eventually Charlotte and Alexa are going to split off from each other. So with all that being said, I think the best option in this case would be Lyra and Bayley to win the tag team titles, go on a nice little run as tag team champions before dropping them and then beginning their feud or whatever WWE decides to do with them after that point. Next up is Seth Rollins versus Gunther. Now, like I said, a lot of the builds to this year's WrestleMania have been really weird, and this is one of those as well. Obviously Seth Rollins was injured for a good while, and he kept coming back as the masked man and stuff, trying to get revenge on the Vision. But then, of course, the unfortunate injury of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker kind of diverted what WWE was planning to do for WrestleMania with Seth Rollins and the Vision. So now they kind of just had to throw Gunther in there. But I like the idea of Gunther as a character, wanting to have this match with Seth Rollins because he wants to be owed a favor from Paul Heyman, which I think could end up leading to his match with Brock Lesnar or something. It's been rumored that Gunther's going to retire Brock Lesnar, so maybe that's the favor that he gets out of this by, facing Seth Rollins and trying to take Rollins out for Paul Heyman. It kind of can set that whole program up. And as much as I want, Seth Rollins to win this match because I think it would be good for his character, I think that the Vision is probably going to get involved in this to help Gunther win, or Paul Heyman will in some way, especially depending on when this takes place compared to the six-man tag team match that I mentioned earlier. Maybe the Vision with Braun Breaker back would try to get revenge on Seth Rollins and take him out and everything, and that could further their feud between the Vision and Seth Rollins by having them interfere in this match with Gunther. Either that or Gunther is just going to win because he seems like, they are building him up as this dominant force and having him retire people and everything else. This doesn't mean, obviously, that Seth Rollins has to retire, but I think Gunther picking up a win here, either way, this feud doesn't really matter, honestly. I could see either one of them winning. I don't really know if it makes sense for either of them to win because this feud is just kind of a filler feud in a way to get to what they wanted to do because they had to call an audible in the first place. But I just think that Gunther is probably going to win because of some kind of outside interference to further the feud between Seth Rollins and the Vision. Next up is the Women's World Heavyweight Championship match between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. I actually think Stephanie Vaquer is going to retain because I think there's going to be some kind of tension between Liv and Raquel or even Liv and Roxanne or something, where this could be the beginning of the full breakup of the Judgment Day. Because with Roxanne coming back and, them kind of getting rid of Finn Balor out of the group, and since Finn brought Roxanne in, maybe there's going to be some kind of tension there, and Roxanne will cost Liv the World Heavyweight title. A lot of people keep thinking that Raquel would do it, but maybe Roxanne is the one that actually does it, and then she kind of breaks off and maybe teams with Finn Balor later on in the year or something against Dom and Liv. So for that reason, I think that Stephanie Vaquer will actually retain the world title, and then she can go on, like I said, to feud with Becky Lynch or somebody, just some kind of new programs. Or maybe they have it planned for Raquel or Roxanne, whoever turns on Liv, to win the world title instead of Liv. I just feel like Liv was the world champion for the better part of last year, and we've already seen her as world champion, so I don't see the need for her to be world champion this quickly after already being world champion for so long last year and being a prominent figure in the women's world title picture. I think focusing on the whole division between the Judgment Day is the route that they're going to go with for Liv Morgan. So her losing here can be kind of the setup for that. And finally, what I guess is being considered the night one main event is the WWE title match between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Even though the build is kind of questionable and just seems strange with the whole Pat McAfee stuff, putting all that aside, I think the match itself is still going to be pretty fun. It's a match that a lot of people have been looking forward to for years since Cody came back to WWE. And now that it's for the WWE title, I think the match itself is going to be really good because it's two of the best workers in the business basically going at it, and it is the former master versus the former student, because they have that whole history with Orton training Cody and that kind of stuff, and they had the legacy team back in the day and everything else. And I think it would be interesting to actually see Randy Orton win the title here, whether it's from outside interference from Pat McAfee or he just straight up wins. Either way, I'd kind of like to see that. We haven't seen Randy Orton as WWE champion, I think, since 2020. So it's been 5 or 6 years at this point. So it has been a while. I'd like to see him kind of back in that title picture again. And if he is releasing, what people are calling that sort of, 2009 Randy Orton back out of himself, then I think it'd be perfect for him to be the world champion while doing that, taking out all of his contenders with punts or whatever, just going on this vicious rampage for a whole year until he loses the title at WrestleMania next year. So I do see Orton winning the world title in one way or another, whether it is, like I said, from outside interference or whatever. That would be kind of dumb if Pat McAfee does cost Cody Rhodes the title, but regardless, I think Randy Orton's going to win his 15th world title, go on a big, lengthy run with it as the head and the face of SmackDown and everything. And I think we could get a lot of interesting storylines out of this as well. Now I'm going to move on to the matches that have been announced for Night 2 of WrestleMania 42. I'm going to start with the match between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. I have kind of liked the sort of slow burn of their split, that they had recently, where Finn had kind of had enough of Dominic and he inadvertently cost him the Intercontinental title when they finally had their split and everything else, and now he's out of the Judgment Day. I think this is good for Finn Balor being out of the Judgment Day. They've been in the Judgment Day since like 2020 or something, whenever Edge started that group. I don't even remember when exactly it was, but it's been a while now, and this has been brewing for years now at this point, this split between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. So I'm glad they're finally going through with it. I would have kind of liked to have seen it be for the Intercontinental title and have like Finn at least has a championship that's not just the tag team titles. At least it would have been something. Like, I know he's been Intercontinental Champion before, but at least it would have given him something to do. I don't like that they kind of spoiled on social media that Finn Balor is going to be the Demon at WrestleMania. They did tease it on Raw, but then they officially announced it that he's going to come out as the Demon. So I don't necessarily like that aspect of it, but I think it will be cool to see him as the Demon again, because it's been a few years now. The last time I think he was the Demon when he fought Edge at WrestleMania and Hell in a Cell a few years back. But that's kind of the last time we've really seen that side of him. But I'm going to go with Finn Balor picking up the win over Dominic here. Dominic has been, dominant for a while now, and as Intercontinental Champion and everything, he picked up a lot of victories and stuff. I don't think Finn Balor has won too many singles matches since he's been part of the Judgment Day. So I think a nice win for him at WrestleMania is the way to go with this. And if they do end up making this like a trilogy or something, or one of those kind of feuds that lasts like 6 months or something, I think Finn Balor should at least get the first win, and on the grandest stage of them all. I think it's been a while since Finn Balor's actually won a match where he wasn't in a tag team or something. So I think Finn Balor beating Dominic Mysterio here would be the right option for WWE to go with, and it can set up future storylines or something with Finn Balor starting to get his wins back and maybe becoming World Heavyweight Champion by next year's WrestleMania or something. The next matchup is the WWE Women's title match between Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea is actually going to win the title. I know people feel like they're kind of pushing her a little too much, kind of like a Hulk Hogan sort of thing, but when you have major stars on the roster, they're gonna win titles. John Cena didn't just win 17 world titles just because. He was one of their biggest draws in the promotion, and now in the current era, Rhea Ripley is one of those big stars. So I think she should be winning the World Championship a lot. And I think it'd be good to kind of get her off of Raw and move her to SmackDown. She's been feuding with Asuka and everything on Raw for a good while, and even Liv Morgan last year and stuff, or going into WrestleMania 40, whatever. She's been on Raw for a good while. I don't think she's ever been on SmackDown really since she debuted on the main roster. So I think it'd be kind of a nice change to see Rhea go to SmackDown as the WWE Women's Champion. And it kind of separates her from the whole Io Sky stuff and everything else and the women's tag team division, and gets her back on top of the women's division where I feel honestly she belongs. She is one of the top stars, so she should be the champion in my opinion. And if we're being honest here too, Jade Cargill's reign hasn't been all that exciting. She's had 2 or 3 title defenses in a year. She won it at SummerSlam last year and hasn't really done much with it. So it was they were experimenting to see if she could be a credible champion, but they also didn't really have a lot of challengers for her on SmackDown because most of them are in the women's tag team division. So moving Rhea over to SmackDown, having her win the title, and even if she does lose it after a month or something, at least she's still on SmackDown to be involved in the women's title program, or in the women's title division, to give another challenger for whoever the champion is on SmackDown going forward. Next up is one of the ones I'm actually looking forward to is Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar. If Oba Femi doesn't win this match, I think people are going to riot. I think it makes the most sense. It feels like they want to build up Oba Femi as almost the next Brock Lesnar. So if they want to do that, he has to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That's the only logical option I feel that WWE should go with, is to have Oba beat Brock Lesnar. And I dare say it should be a squash match as well. Have Oba just squash Brock Lesnar in the same way that Goldberg did when he returned to WWE in Survivor Series, where Goldberg beat him in 10 seconds or whatever it was. I feel maybe at least a 5-minute match or something even could be good too, and just have Obafemi, doing most of the offense and stuff, just to kind of put over how powerful he can be, so that when he does eventually win a world title, he feels like a credible champion because we've seen what he can do. And if you can beat somebody like Brock Lesnar in like quick fashion like that and almost replace Brock Lesnar, I feel like that's just what makes the most sense, in my opinion, is Obafemi picking up the win here. And even if they do continue this feud and have them like fight again later on or something, then you can have Brock Lesnar win and set up a trilogy, whatever. But at WrestleMania, it has to be Obafemi. He has to beat Brock Lesnar, and then they can start building up Obafemi to be a future world champion within the next year or so. And it has to start here with this win against Brock Lesnar. And if they don't do it, then like WWE's dropping the ball big time on this program that they have between these two and the potential building up of Obafemi going forward. Next up is the United States Championship match between Sami Zayn and Trick Williams. Say what you want about Sami Zayn and everything else and how he they ruined like Carmelo Hayes by having Sami win the U.S. title instead of having Carmelo go to WrestleMania. All of that booking and everything was questionable and stuff. This should have probably been Carmelo. Or you could have had Carmelo versus Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn in a triple threat or something. But put all that Carmelo Hayes stuff aside, I think this probably will be a good match. And honestly, I want to see Trick Williams win. I know that makes Sami Zayn sort of a transitional champion, and it's like, what was the point? They could have just had Trick Williams beat Carmelo at WrestleMania instead of Sami Zayn. And obviously, they had the history between Carmelo and Trick that could carry over from their NXT days and do it here at WrestleMania. But either way, questionable booking aside or whatever, I just think that Trick Williams needs a big moment here. They seem to be building him up to possibly be a future world champion as well. He kind of reminds me of that Booker T sort of figure. So I think this would be a good start for him, giving him a first title to win, just like they did with Carmelo. They made Carmelo a star by having him win the U.S. title and doing those open challenges every single week. He was one of the biggest stars on SmackDown and one of the things people looked forward to every single week because of those open challenges. So I think giving Trick Williams the U.S. title here kind of makes the most sense. And also I feel like they're trying to build up a heel turn for Sami Zayn, so maybe we get like a double turn kind of thing at WrestleMania. Trick Williams turns into a babyface, gets attacked by Sami Zayn after winning the title, and then Sami kind of just snaps or something and goes insane. That can kind of start here as well. So they got there's a benefit from Trick winning the title here. It kind of benefits two different scenarios playing out at the same time. It builds up Trick Williams and also builds up a sort of deranged heel turn for Sami Zayn as well. Up next is what should be another fun one. It's the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. It's Penta defending against Rusev, JD McDonough, Javon Evans, Dragon Lee, and of course the returning Rey Mysterio, who just came back on a recent episode of Raw. I definitely think there's going to be a lot of high-flying action in this one for sure. I can see Javon Evans doing some crazy spots off of ladders, possibly JD McDonough as well. Rusev can bring that sort of powerhouse dynamic to it where he can be the one throwing people off of the ladders and stuff like that. But in all of that, I think Penta is still going to retain. I kind of like him as Intercontinental Champion, and he's only really held it for a couple months at this point, so I feel like giving him a lengthy title reign will be good. And plus, all these people that are in this ladder match can be potential one-on-one feuds for him in the future. He's already fought Dragon Lee one time because he issued an open challenge match. But I think it's all going to lead to Penta versus Rey Mysterio, maybe at SummerSlam or something, for the Intercontinental title, or just one-on-one without the title, whatever. And I think that can all kind of sort of be teased in this match, maybe some dissension between Rey and Penta, or Rey goes up to win the title and then Penta comes up and steals it at the last second and retains it or something. They can kind of set and plant the seeds for it in this match. And like I said, it sets up these five as future contenders for the title as well, to keep Penta's title reign interesting throughout the rest of the year until he finally loses it. Despite that though, I do enjoy multi-man ladder matches. They're always really entertaining. So I think this will be one of the matches that maybe even steals the show on night 2 of WrestleMania if Obafemi and Brock Lesnar doesn't. Like I said, there's a lot of really interesting matches on this card, and a lot of them are going to be really good. and this is one of those matches. But I see Penta coming away with the win here, one way or another. I think Penta's still going to retain. And finally is the main event of night 2, which is the World Heavyweight title match between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. I'm actually going to say that I think Roman Reigns is going to win this. I think there's going to be a couple different things that could play out. Either The Rock comes back officially, like actually comes back this time and sticks around for a while, which kind of ruined the whole John Cena thing last year. But the reason I think that that's going to happen is because, CM Punk has been mentioning Roman's family. He brought up Roman's dead father. He even mentioned The Rock at one point. He keeps saying how Roman always needs help to win, and this could kind of solidify Punk's, claims that Roman always needs help to win by having The Rock come out and help Roman actually win the title. But this could also plant the seeds for what could be, the rumored match between Roman and The Rock, whenever that officially does happen or whatever. I know a lot of people are skeptical about Roman being a champion again because we saw it for 3.5 years when he was the WWE champion over on SmackDown with the whole tribal chief stuff. But it has been a while since he's been a world champion, and this would really give some legitimacy to this world heavyweight title, considering for a few years now it's been considered kind of the consolation prize, and it was even referred to as such by Roman Reigns when he was the WWE champion. And I think it gives CM Punk something to fight for again, actually going after the title, and chasing the title again, since he kind of did that, when he beat Gunther last year and then Seth Rollins took it off him with the Money in the Bank. And then Punk only won it because Seth vacated the title, and they had the whole Punk versus Jey Uso thing. So actually giving Punk a year-long sort of journey to try and get back to the world title or something might be good for his character. I don't know. But I think Roman winning the world title here sets up a lot of future storylines going forward over the next couple of months. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. What are your predictions for the show? Who do you think are going to win all the matches? Do you agree with any of my picks? Let me know all that down in the comments section. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more, and check out all the other wrestling-related content we've had on this channel over the years, and any that we will upload in the future as well. And as always, thank you for watching the video, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.